So here's my first look at the brand new Canon RF 50mm 1.2 lens. So now that I've switched over to the Canon R and I'm shooting mirrorless, even though I can still use all of the Canon EF lenses with the great adapters that they have, there are now new RF mount lenses for the Canon full frame mirrorless. There's only a few of them available so far, but this one is the first one that I had to get. 50mm has always been my favorite focal length. It's kind of strange, I know, but I love the just normal perspective that I get from 50mm. The first 50mm lens I had way back was the Canon 50mm 1.8. I loved that so much that probably a month later I got the 1.4, and then when I saved up some money and I had the budget available and I was able to swing it, the Canon 50mm 1.2 lens in the EF mount I shot with for years, and it was one of my favorites. That was up until a few years ago when Sigma came out with its 50mm 1.4 art lens. I tried that out. I liked it better than the Canon, even though it was a little bit narrower, about a half a stop narrower at 1.4 versus 1.2. I love that lens so much that I've been shooting with that for a few years now. But now that the new Canon RF 50mm 1.2 lens is available, I tried that out instead, and I gotta tell you, I love it. I'm gonna be taking this out in the field in a couple of weeks to do a full review, put it through the tests, image quality and everything, but I just wanted to give you my first impressions of this lens. Now, it is a little big, it is a little bit heavy, but it mounts perfectly on the Canon R. It fits very well, it feels very natural. It doesn't feel front heavy or anything. It's perfectly balanced on this camera. It's a very nice, sleek design. The focus ring is nice and smooth, and probably the best feature, and Canon's gonna be doing this a lot with their RF lenses and kind of retrofitting the EF lenses on this also, is this control ring right in the front. So what this control ring is basically a ring, just like the focus ring here. The control ring is another ring right in front of it that you can turn around, and you can set in the menu settings, you can assign this ring to several different functions. You can use it to change your aperture value, your shutter speed. You can use it to change your ISO, all of those just twisting like this. Change all those settings. You can also use it to change your exposure compensation, which is what I have it set on. So now while I'm composing an image, looking through this nice bright electronic viewfinder and seeing a real-time exposure through the viewfinder, I can actually just with my left hand, just rotate this back and forth and change my exposure by using the exposure compensation dialed into here. It really, really is a great convenient way to add another control to the system. I'd like to see actually maybe some buttons and other things added to a lens like this, because for my whole life, my right hand's been doing all the work, doing all the controls, the dials, the buttons, everything, while my left hand just basically holds things up and is wasted here, just holding the lens. Now I can put my left hand to work and actually control some of the settings in here also, and make my shooting a little bit faster and more efficient that way. So I've loved using that so far. I really love the control ring. And with the EF lenses, Canon now has an adapter that has the control ring built into the adapter. So it'll go between the lens and the camera. There'll be a control ring on the adapter, and you can do the same thing. You can set whatever function you want to that control ring in the settings. All the same things now you can do with your EF lenses. So if you wanted to change your ISO on the fly, you can just rotate that ring. Same thing I'm doing here. If I want to change the exposure compensation on the fly, rotate the ring with the EF lenses. That's really, really a great feature. But the number one reason I wanted to get this lens was the 1.2 maximum aperture. So why 1.2 instead of 1.4? It doesn't seem like a big difference. Well, when you're looking at the images and you're comparing the same image at different apertures, you're going to see a difference between even 1.4 and 1.2. And like I'm saying, a lot of times you want to try to differentiate yourself from the other photographers who, if you have somebody who's shooting at 1.4, you can actually take it a step further. You could be shooting a little bit shallower depth of field, a little bit softer background at 1.2, and it gives you an extra half a stop of light, which in some cases can make a difference between having to shoot at a higher ISO, you can lower your ISO, or having to shoot at a slower shutter speed, you can increase your shutter speed and not worry about blur or anything. It doesn't have image stabilization. I kind of wish that it did, but I know that Canon is coming down the line fairly soon with in-body image stabilization in the mirrorless cameras and in the DSLRs also. So in-lens image stabilization isn't as important right now, especially if that IBIS is coming down the line. So related to the 1.2 versus 1.4, I'm going to do another video. I'll be posting it here soon, showing the difference between all different apertures and especially focusing on the difference between 1.4 and 1.2 so you can see that. But like I said, 50 millimeters is my favorite focal length. I'm going to take this thing out next week and really put it to the test, show you all kinds of different images that I'm getting with it. Really looking forward to using this and sharing my results. I'm going to put a link here to all the Canon R videos that we're doing, and I'll put another link here to the review I did of the Sigma 50mm 1.4 lens. It's still a great lens if you can get it. Any questions or comments, put them down below. Remember to subscribe, and thanks for watching.